Tony, Chen, and I are here from Vanguard today, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what goes on at Vanguard. And my name is Brian Kelly. I've been with Vanguard for almost 21 years. I'm from the area. I went to Penn State undergrad, but I did go to Villanova here for my MBA in finance. I met some great friends here while I was here. I met my wife was actually going. She's an undergrad and was going for her MBA as well. Her father went here. So a bit of a history with Villanova and plenty of history with Vanguard. So what we thought, I'll tee this up and then Tony's gonna come up as well. Advancing the slides. So I'll start very, very high level. Our core purpose at Vanguard is very simple, and you can see it on the screen. Take a stand for investors, treat them fairly, give them the best chance for investment success. That's what we're all about. From our ownership structure, from our leadership team, how we're organized, how we think, how we make decisions, it's all about giving investors the best chance for investment success. How we do that, Tony, you want to go one more, please? How we do that really starts from our culture, and that's what I'll focus most of my comments on. When you ask customers and potential customers to send you their hard-earned after-tax dollars without ever talking to you, right? 98% of our transactions come through the web, right? They don't talk to a person. We ask them to send us their money, and we're going to caretake it for them, and we're going to offer them the best chance for investment success. That's a big ask. That's a very big ask, and we don't take that lightly. Reputation is an asset, and how we built that reputation over the years is our company culture. When folks ask me what's the key to success at Vanguard, there's a very simple foundation. It's ethics and integrity. If you don't have that, you tend not to last at Vanguard. So that is the very foundation of what we look for, which makes Villanova a great place to recruit with your fine Augustinian tradition here at Villanova. So we've been in business for about 41 years. We've had 3 CEOs. They're listed here with a bit of a quote from each one. Jack Bogle was very much the visionary, the pioneer, the one to buck the system at the time and say, we're not going to pay for distribution. We're going to organize in a different manner. We're going to be at cost. We're going to be owned by our investors. All very new ideas in the early 70s when Jack formed the company. And Jack is known as saying even one person can make a difference, which is interesting in a small startup sense, but now that we're about 14,000 people strong and in many countries around the world, that one sentence still resonates greatly. Jack Brennan succeeded Jack Bogle and is known for saying character comes first. Now think of managing almost $4 trillion in assets in many countries around the world, millions of customers. That's where it starts. Character comes first. Jack was succeeded by Bill McNabb, and Bill's known as saying, in the business, if you do the right thing, you win. So trying to give you guys a sense of culture at Vanguard and how important it is to us. Now, if you ask any company, is culture important? Do you do the right thing? Of course they're going to say yes. We can certainly get into why it must be true at Vanguard, from our ownership structure right on down. Our clients own us, right? It's a mutual company, so our clients own us. So do the right thing by the client, we win, the investor wins, and that's what we're all about. Okay, so I'll stop there and maybe bring up Tony, and he's going to go into a bit more detail on the company, where we're invested, and a little bit more detail for you. Okay. Great. Over to you. Do you want me to?
Yeah, I need the mic.
Yep, that's right. You need the mic.
Thank you. I feel like I'm on Bachelor in Paradise in the real world. This is awesome. Okay, yeah, so I think I guess a little bit about myself. My name's Tony Chen. I've been at Vanguard for 3 years, so a little bit less than Brian, who's my manager. In terms of background, I started my career first in private equity prior to going to business school, and then joining an insurance company in the Midwest. While at that insurance company, I really worked in strategy, investments, and mergers and acquisitions. My wife is from this area, so while I took her to the Midwest after about 5 years, she said to me, I'm not really a Midwest girl. We've got to go back to the East Coast. So I put together my list of target companies, and at the very top, it was Vanguard. And the reason is really as it relates to a lot of the things that I think we chatted about right at the beginning of this, before we even started this presentation. It really had to do with the fact that, I was really congruent with Vanguard's investment philosophy, which I learned actually through business school doing case studies, but also everything I learned about Vanguard's culture. Coming here, I'd say all of that is true, and so I'm really, really happy about that. The one thing that I didn't realize when I made my decision to join Vanguard, and I know now, and I'm really happy about it as well, is the focus on development and leadership, and that was a really, really nice thing. I feel like as I'm still on that journey, but I definitely say that I'm much, much further along now than I was when I first joined here along those fronts, and we can touch on that as well if you'd like. But first, this is a Vanguard by the numbers slide, and while the numbers are important, I always feel like the story is what I'm always more interested in. Vanguard's a really large company, so this is a little bit stale, but around $4 trillion, I think a little bit over in assets under management. That's huge. I think we're second only to BlackRock, and what's incredible is that this is all organic growth, so we really haven't done a lot of mergers and acquisitions in the past. Part of the reason that we attribute our success is really in our crew, so we call our employees our crew, and we really feel like a lot of that success is due to them. And as a result, we focus a lot on development, whether it's formal or informal, and just an external, indicator of that is, being ranked #1 by Learning Elite. If you ask me what Learning Elite is, I don't know, but I'm sure it's something that HR values a lot. And then finally, Brian had talked about doing the right thing. So whether it's doing the right thing for our investors or doing the right thing for our crew, it's really, really important at Vanguard, and that also, I think, is shown through what we do amongst our local community as well. Thanks. Okay, so just to touch on this briefly, I was talking about how much Vanguard has grown, and this really highlights it. I actually really like this slide. As you'll see, in 1975 is when Vanguard started, $1.8 billion in assets. Today, we're actually over $4 trillion in assets. And I guess this is a group of people interested in finance. That's about a 20% compound annual growth rate. That's really, really, so I told you my background was private equity, and we would be really excited about a 20% compound annual growth rate for a small to medium-sized company. But what's really incredible is if you kind of calculate the compound annual growth rate from 2009 to 2016, we're already at a really large base at 1.3 trillion. That's like a 17% annual growth rate there. And that, to me, is remarkable. We just had a CFO join us recently, and he was talking about this at a town hall, and he just says, coming from an insurance industry as well, it just blows his mind how we're able to do that. And while it's a really exciting thing to have happen, it's an opportunity. It's also one of our challenges because as a result of this rapid growth for a really large company, something that we struggle with and we're trying to deal with is how do we keep our infrastructure on pace with that growth. So again, that's a great problem to have. And I think this slide really highlights that. So I think some of you might have talked a little bit about culture, and I touched on it a little bit. So at Vanguard, we talk about 3 C's. It's client, crew, and community. And so these are some statistics that HR provided around our community impact. I actually think these numbers understate the community impact because this is just stuff that is recorded by HR, but in reality, so as an example, someone that Brian and I both know, Linda Clishies, we worked together with her as a coworker. I parked next to her and I noticed that the back of her bumper had all these animal rights type of stickers. So I asked her about it, and what I learned from her, which I didn't know, but it's really fascinating, is that she's really passionate about animal rights and animal rescue. And so as a result, something she does is go to local supermarkets, find donations for pet food, and then bring them to local shelters in addition to all the other stuff she does. So, and that's not uncommon when you talk and you get to know people that they're really passionate about things at work, but also outside of work, which isn't reflected here. And the reason that they're able to do that is really the work-life balance that Vanguard provides. So I think some of you had asked about work-life balance. And on the next slide, this is actually an interesting slide. So obviously, we're all focused on work, and we really want to win, and that's something we're passionate about. We're passionate about, doing the right thing for our investors, et cetera. At the same time, I think we also recognize that it's important to have fun, and it's important to have lives outside of work. Coming from, as a personal story, coming from private equity, I was really satisfied from a work perspective, but on the other hand, I really didn't have time to, exercise, and health was something that was really important to me. So I decided to make a transition to go to work at more of a traditional company where I'd have that work-life balance. At Vanguard, obviously, I have time for that. I have time to go home, play with my baby, put him to bed, and I really, really appreciate that. This integration is really, it's new. Basically what this means is we have something called Tech Central, and it's basically these kiosks throughout the campus that provide different types of ways to allow us to have more flexibility in our schedule. For instance, they'll provide you a loaner Wi-Fi hotspot for the folks that don't have laptops because they might be working in a call center and traditionally don't need it. They'll loan out laptops, et cetera. Just basically a lot of tools to allow you to work from home when you need to and kind of have that flexibility. So what I don't want you to do is read those three words together, like work-life integration, as if you're on 24. That's 24/7. I don't think that's the intent of that slide. And then finally, we talked about development, and something that is obviously really important at Vanguard is development. I kind of mentioned how I think I've really grown as a leader. At the same time, I'm on that journey. And part of the reason that we focus so much is at Vanguard, we're really focused on developing leaders and general managers, so people that could be successful in any part of the company. It's not uncommon to have a situation where someone says, well, you're really good at these three things, but you need to work on these two. So for your next assignment, I'm actually going to put you in a position where it's going to be, you're going to have to really stress and focus on these two things you're less good at because we want you to develop and be a more well-rounded person. And obviously, there are a lot of different ways to develop, whether it's formal or informal, but these are just some ways that we do it at Vanguard. Obviously, more than happy to talk more about that if you'd like. So I guess another personal example, something I'm working on is public speaking. So I'm not here because I'm the best, the best person for Vanguard to talk about Vanguard. I'm actually here because it's a development opportunity for me. And my managers and others have recognized that and put me in front of you so that way I could develop. So finally, CFS. So I guess something you want to know about is finance at Vanguard. And before I do so, it probably makes sense to just set up a little bit of context around how Vanguard is structured. So we have these client businesses. These are revenue generating businesses, international, institutional. So basically providing, as an example, 401k plans for large clients like Google. We have the retail investor group, which is our direct channel. So individual investors either investing in Vanguard through the phone or online channels. And finally, financial advisors. So that's where we distribute our funds through brokers. At the same time, we have these shared services groups, which are all the different groups that support these revenue supporting businesses. The reason I wanted to highlight that is that we basically have analysts supporting each of these groups. So you could be, as a financial analyst, supporting any of these groups. And from an organizational structure perspective, we've got Bill McNabb, who is the CEO of our company, and he's got a staff of managing directors. Right under him, Vanguard Talk, we have what we call MD-1. So they've got their staff of people right below those managing directors. Typically, our financial analysts are supporting people at the MD-1 level, which is really, really senior in the organization. And to be honest, there's kind of a gap between where the financial analysts are and these more senior people are. And as a result, we're really looking for people that are more than just finance people that can do the numbers and run the numbers. That's not the most challenging part of the job. It's actually, in my opinion, not too hard. I think the harder part is really the persuasion, the influence. Can you get in front of a large group, answer challenging questions, be a good partner, and show a sense of maturity. And that's what we're really looking for as in terms of financial analysts. Next slide. That's okay. We just talked through all that. I think someone had asked, what is it that you're looking for? This is it. I kind of quickly summarized it, but I think we put our collective heads together and came up with 6 skill sets that are needed. I actually feel like these kind of bucket really nicely into 3 different skill sets. So successfully deals with ambiguity and analytical curiosity. We want to be able to put you in any situation and feel confident that you can kind of solve that problem using the problem-solving toolkit you have, or just be able to learn more in order to develop that problem-solving toolkit. Communication and client relationships, so that's all about persuasion and influence. And then finally, financial concepts and technically savvy with analytical tools, so the technical competence that you're picking up at Villanova. And then finally, these are just an example of some of the things people do after they're financial analysts. So they either are progressed vertically, as an example, line manager, that's just basically a manager. So on my team, I've got someone that's probably really, really close to achieving that. Chief of staff, director of financial analysis. Basically, the point here is that people go on to do a lot of different things, and you can either go vertically or go horizontally. And we've really been able to position our financial analysts for success in all of that. So again, on my team, I've got someone probably ready to be a line manager. I've got someone that keeps on getting nudges throughout the organization to be a chief of staff. And hopefully I can keep her away from doing that for a little bit longer, but I'm not sure. And then finally, I've got someone that's still on their journey of being an analyst and developing as an analyst. So I think that is the formal presentation. We can take questions if you'd like, or we can stick around and just answer questions more on a one-to-one basis, whatever, it's really about you guys, so whatever you guys want to do.
Maybe to conclude before Dylan's completely done, if there was just a plug about, for our online viewers moving forward, about where they should be directed to if they're interested in applying for the roles?
Yeah, so the best way to do that would be through the website. Go to vanguard.com. And there's a career link which you'll be able to apply to the various roles. If you select finance, then that'll direct you towards the roles that would be more in line with what Brian and I are currently doing for both full-time as well as internship positions.